Welcome back. In this video I'm going to be going over my entire gear loadout minus a couple of little bits from the PCT this year. So let's go. Hello, Russ here, bringing you the best tips and inspiration for hiking around the world. If that is your thing, then do hit that subscribe button below for more content just on that every single week. Next to me I have my, what I would say, the final gear loadout from my Pacific Crest Trail through hike this year. I made it 210 miles to the I-10 underpass, and this is the second backpack and kind of like the second setup that I had, because when I got to Idlewild, when I decided to kind of stay, I switched out my Atom, picked up this ULA Circuit 50 litre, completely made out of aerobic nylon, and just because I wanted a little bit more room, I wanted some more options for resupplying, so I wanted to carry more food, carry a bit more water, carry a few extra layers, because I was in snow pretty much most of the time, even in the most southern points of the Californian desert. So yeah, this is basically it. So I'm going to run through, all of the warm weight is inside, including my phone. I'm currently wearing flip-flops so I could show you the trail runners that I was wearing, so I'll get to that in a minute. So I'm just going to run through what's on the outside of the backpack and then work my way in. It's packed in pretty much the exact same way how I would pack it. The things that I'm missing from this loadout are my stove gas, my polycryo ground sheet, and my ice axe. They're the only things that are missing from this. Now everything else, apart from food and water, everything else is in this backpack. So I'm going to run through it now from the outside, go on the inside, and yeah, I can't actually remember how much this backpack weighed in total, and I haven't got my weighing scales on me. They're currently at my mum's house. I haven't been able to go pick them up because of this whole thing. So I'll tell you what, take a guess on how much you think this backpack weighs. Leave it in the comments, and I'll send a little something out to whoever gets the closest weight to the nearest gram. We'll get to like the nearest gram. So yeah, without further ado, let's open this bad boy up. Okay, so as I said, all the warm weight is inside. The only thing that I can't obviously put in the pack right now is my trail runners. These are the Ultra Lone Peak 4.5. I bought these in an REI in San Diego, £120, about $160, something like that. Held up really well. Got a full review. If you click the link up here when it's ready, that should be up there. Right, okay, so let's start diving into the pack. Start on the shoulder strap pocket. These are optional with the ULA Circuit, so I've got these as well. Just keep my phone inside that shoulder strap pocket, and these are also made out of aerobic nylon, and they've got plenty of cushioning and everything on the inside as well. In the wearer's left side pocket, we've got a 1 litre smart water bottle with a sports cap on it. Also got my Southern California section maps. These are just, yeah, I think they're the National Geographic ones. They're pretty good. Instead of downloading and printing the half-mile PCT maps, I don't think they're doing the app anymore either. I just thought I'd go for these new National Geographic ones. They seem to be pretty good. I actually quite liked having the maps in the morning so I could just check out what was going on throughout the day, what the kind of elevation was. There's only so much that you can get from gut hooks, so having a paper map and compass is definitely beneficial unless you're an ultralight person and you don't want to bother. Next up in this side pocket, we've got one of my trekking poles. These are the Black Diamond Alpine Carbon Cork. Also, the other one is in the other pocket. Found these are probably the best trekking poles that I've ever used. They're very lightweight, very sturdy, very comfortable. They're very easy to use. There's no twisting involved. You just use the little clips, which are fantastic. Haven't had to tighten them or loosen them once. They're still as they were when I got them through the post. Next up, and I think this is the last bit in this side pocket, is my tent stakes. So I've got two OEX cheapo ones, which are quite big. They're these Y-shaped tent stakes. They came from a larger set, but I thought I'd just have two big ones, as well as another 6 of these MSR mini groundhog tent stakes, just to save on a bit of weight. The 2 larger ones I just used for the main guys on the Zpacks Solplex tent that I've got, just for the front and the back, so it just gave them that little bit of extra support on the main ones. But yeah, that's the tent stakes. I'm kind of like sat on a log, and I haven't thought about where I'm going to put the gear when I've got it out of the pack, so I'm going to probably just chuck it on the floor. I don't know. All right, let's flip this bad boy around and go in the other side pocket. So we have another 1 litre smart water bottle. This is for dirty water, always keeping the filter on top. I actually have a little white cap to make sure that I differentiate which bottle has the dirty water in it or if it hasn't been filtered. And then instead of using a pouch, I would just collect in this one and then squeeze into the freshwater one with the sports cap on the top. So I don't really want to use these kind of knock Vecto pouches anymore. I think they're really easy to break, and I don't want to carry an extra thing. If I'm already carrying a bottle, I'll just collect the dirty water in that and squeeze it through into a clean bottle. Sometimes I'd have 3 1 litres and then a ½ litre in the really dry bits, but mainly I was just carrying 2 litres at a time. It was a very cold, very wet start to the PCT. Oh, I've got a little inchworm on my trekking pole, look at that. Don't know if you can see that. Look at that. Little inchworm. Okay, carrying on. So we've got the other Black Diamond Alpine Carbon cork. As you can see, over 200 and something miles, plus the Rota Vicentina and a lot of other trekking in between. The cork on the handle has started to get pretty grubby, but that's probably the only wear and tear. Also, on the stem of these trekking poles, I've got a little bit of Gorilla Tape. I always carry that. I'll probably included the Gorilla Tape on there in each of my other videos. So just a nice little hack there. Okay, that's both of the side pockets empty. Now we're going to look at the hip belt pockets. Okay, first up in the right hand hip belt pocket is my Sun God sunglasses. They're very light, all made of plastic. Cost about 40 quid, you can customise your own, but my old flatmate gave me this pair. Very good at keeping the UV out, kept my eyes very safe and comfortable. Only thing I did find was that the lenses could get scratched up pretty quickly. It's fine, you know, these things are going to happen, but a little bit quicker than I expected. Sun God sunglasses. Next up in the right hand hip belt pocket is my Nightcore NU25 headlamp. Highly recommended, very lightweight. Could have done with taking this big strap off, but yeah, it saw me very good. Ran out of battery once when I was going across the San Jacinto Mountains, but it was very easy to charge. Once I plugged my cable into it, I could wear it while it was charging. Very good headlamp. Next up in the right hip belt pocket, I also kept my Smidge head net, which was good for mosquitoes and bugs and things, actually, because it was so cold. Never wore this thing once on the PCT, but definitely worth having. You never know when you're going to need one. And the last thing in the right hand hip belt pocket was my compass, just a very simple silver compass, set a bearing, till which you could orientate a map, all of the things that you need to do. Lots of people don't carry map and compass. Definitely there were spots that on the San Jacinto mountain range, if my phone died and I had no other way of navigating or telling where I was, definitely a map and compass would have been needed at that point. All right, that's it in the right hip belt pocket. Let's look in the left one now. First thing in the right hand hip belt pocket is my headphones. These are just some Sennheiser cheapo. They're about 35 quid, got them on Amazon. They're actually quite good quality. Thing is, I didn't really wear these much while I was hiking. I would only wear these at night at camp or when I was in a town and I was trying to get to sleep and wanted to watch a film or something, but I'd never wear them and listen to music while I'm hiking because of those rattlers in the desert. Next in the left hip belt pocket is my Zpacks DCF wallet. Very lightweight, just kept a few cards in it. They actually sent me this for free along with a couple of other bits to try out on the PCT, so thank you very much Zpacks, very kind of you. Just got a couple of bank cards and everything like that, got my ID, things like that you would keep in a wallet. Next in the left hip belt pocket was my Optrex eye drops. I suffer from hay fever and allergies, so any dust or pollen that gets in my eyes, I tend to have really itchy red eyes, so I always keep a bottle of that. Next up is some Carmex lip balm. I really like this lip balm because it doesn't get all messy inside the cap because it's got just a tiny little hole and you just squeeze a little bit out and put it on your lips, and instead of those kind of Pritt stick style ones that you have to twist to get out, it's less messy and less grubby, so definitely prefer using the Carmex. Next up is my inhaler, mildly asthmatic for obvious reasons. Then I've got my lighter, that's for lighting my stove, for burning off any loose thread, starting a fire, if you ever get the chance to do that on the PCT. But yeah, always good to have a little Bic lighter. And last but not least, in the left hip belt pocket is some sunscreen, just some cheap factor 30 sunscreen that I got in some store out in the US. So that's everything on the hip belt pockets. Let's dive into this massive stretchy front pocket. So the first thing that's in there, to be honest, this isn't actually in order of how I'd have it, but I usually just keep this extra Sawyer Squeeze water filter pouch just in case one of my bottles broke. I just keep these as a spare. These are very easily broken as well, but I've also managed to get another sports cap on there just for in case I lose that sports cap. So I've got a spare one of those as well. Next up in the big front pocket is my stove. Now, of course, the only thing that's missing from the stove is the stove gas, because I couldn't take that home on the plane, but this is an MSR Pocket Rocket 2 stove. It came with the cup, some grabbers, the stove itself and everything like that, and all can fit inside this little cup, which is really handy. Next up in the front pocket is some baby wipes. I usually carry a massive bag of these and they'll last for ages. They're just really good for when you have to go dig a cat hole and do your business and polish off afterwards any messes. Obviously pack them out, don't bury them, but they're a very good addition to a thru-hiker's backpack. Stemming from that is my poop kit, and that basically contains, let me just put this bag down on the floor. The poop kit basically is contained in a Ziploc bag, and then you've got some TP, obvious, some hand sanitizer, very good for these current situation times. I like to keep my body glide inside the poop kit just because this is good for chafing. You're going to be rubbing this in places that are a little bit grimy, so I don't really want to be putting this where clean hands are going to go. So I'll keep this in the poop kit. And of course, my Juice of Spades trowel, very good bit of kit to have. Thing is, I was walking for a lot of the PCT with my ice axe, which I don't have with me today, and I'd never thought to use the ice axe as a trowel instead of using the trowel. So if you've got an ice axe, instead of using a trowel, just dig a hole with your ice axe. It's probably such a good way to do it and less effort. I've also got some nail clippers and some tweezers here, which are a very good addition to a poop kit. So you keep all of this kind of nastiness in this one bag, nice and neatly tucked away, and it's always in the front pocket of my backpack. So if I need to go, I don't have to go rummaging around inside the backpack. I can just rip it out and off I go. In this forest, there is literally tons and tons of these little caterpillars. Can you see that? There are tons of them. There you go, little buddy. Okay, next up in the massive front pocket for the PCT, I had my Patagonia Micro Puff hoodie. Possibly one of the best thermal insulated jackets I've ever worn. For a synthetic, it's really warm. Compared to a down one, it's not quite as warm as what you would get with the same kind of filling as down, but essentially because it's synthetic, you can wear it a bit more as an active layer. It doesn't matter if it gets too wet, as long as it doesn't get soaking wet. But yeah, a little bit of moisture isn't going to affect this as much as a down one. Next up in the massive front pocket is my Outdoor Research Helium 2. It's a really tiny little wind/rain jacket, seam sealed, very lightweight, very packable. Kept me quite dry on the PCT, even in some driving rain, but over time the coating on the inside has started to degrade and I was getting quite soaked around my cuffs, around my shoulders, and any contact points with the backpack and my skin. But yeah, not a bad jacket. All right, so that's pretty much everything on the outside of the backpack. I think it's a good time now to actually talk about the backpack itself. So this is a ULA Circuit. It's a 50 litre, made completely of Robic nylon and a few other little bits. I found actually, after switching up from my Atom, I actually really liked how comfortable this backpack was, and I really liked how spacious it was. It gave me a lot of options. I like how this front pocket is massive. You can put so much stuff in this front pocket compared to my Atom, which was a lot smaller. People were literally looking at my Atom on trail and be like, what is that? It's the smallest backpack for this thing. And I could have kept going with the Atom, I think. The only problem is this situation with COVID just completely changed everything, and I just felt a bit like I was out of my depth with resupplying due to like so many things being closed. I just thought, let's get a bigger pack and get a few more options and a bit more room so I can chop and change what I'm carrying. And this pack offered that. The back panel is super comfortable. The hip belt's really comfortable as well. It's not removable like the Atom. I really love this Robic material, frickin' durable. Like this thing could take a beating. It's nowhere near as light as my Atom at all, but in terms of something that's gonna, last, I'm gonna keep this thing for years, and if I want to use it, it's there. My pet peeves about this backpack in particular were that it doesn't have a bottom pocket, and I really missed my Z side compression straps, which were just that little bit of elastic, because whatever's in these side pockets can just ping into that, and it was just a really good little feature of my Atom that I missed. I also didn't like the ice axe loops on these. I think you've got two here, and they kind of attach like up here, which is fine. I just thought it wasn't as easy to put an ice axe inside these loops. And the last thing that didn't quite gel with me with this ULA Circuit is the amount of webbing that's just hanging off of this thing everywhere. So I actually ended up trimming the hip belt webbing straps. I could do with trimming the load lifter webbing straps as well. And the Y strap, I think what I'd like to do is get a bare canister, put that on top, see how much room I actually need for the Y strap. But look at that, that is a lot of webbing. I mean, it's fine, it's good to have enough in the beginning and then trim down later, but yeah, it's just a lot of webbing. But apart from that, yeah, I'm really pleased with this backpack, and it was definitely a good choice. Okay, the last thing that's actually outside the backpack before we dive in is my little sit pad, just a cheap little sit pad that I bought somewhere. I actually can't remember, probably from Amazon. Good little sit pad. Opening the Y strap and the side release clips, side compression straps, whatever they're called. I'm going to put this pack on the floor now. It'll be easy to get everything out. So the first thing, minus the food, is my OP sack. So this is I think the green one is actually supposed to be used for food and the black ones are used for like technology or something, but I think what I was told is if you're putting food in these things, you want to go for the green OP sack. And inside, as well as the food, to be honest with you, in terms of food, all I was eating the entire way was ramen, mashed potato, instant mac and cheese and things like that. It was just dreadful. And I was eating things like Snickers bars and Reese's Pieces with dried, like loads of dried fruit, keeping as hydrated as I could, using my stove every night. To be honest, what I was cooking wasn't anything special. I'll definitely do a video on more food related stuff in the future, but also in my OP sack was some spare Ziploc bags, and I would just portion out all of my food, reuse them and wash them whenever I needed to. I just had some spares in there in case I wanted to pack out some extra stuff and didn't have enough Ziploc bags. So yeah, OP sack, Ziploc bags, had all my food in it. That was, it just really worked. Next up in the main compartment of the pack is my Zpacks Zpacks tent. Usually I'd also keep my polycryo ground sheet, but that thing was so knackered by the time I was finished with the PCT. I'd been using that for way more than 200 miles. I'd been using that for like 6 months prior to the PCT. It was my last cut out bit. I just decided to bin it when I got to the airport because it was so dirty. I didn't want to take it on the plane. But yeah, Zpacks Zpacks tent, full review up here in the card, which should be floating up there. Okay, there's a little tiny compartment inside this backpack. I think there's two actually, one on the back and one on the front. But in the back one, I've got a little Ziploc bag, and that contained my permits, my ID, and my passport, everything there. So that was just a really good, safe little place to put my permits and ID and everything. Before I was using a Zpacks little satchel thing, and I left all of my stuff in that on the bus. As a lot of you already know. So yeah, passport in that little pocket. Okay, the next thing inside the main compartment is this DCF kind of zip bag from Zpacks that they sent me, which is really kind. I actually found this was fantastic for putting all of my electronic gear in, so it was really easy to access. And the electronic stuff is quite heavy, so I didn't want to keep it all in a Ziploc, which was really easy to break. So I'm just going to run through everything that's in there now. So this is just a little case to put all of my SD cards in it. It's really handy, really lightweight. Could carry about 12 SD cards inside there, and all of them were 128 gigs because I was ready to be filming that entire thing and I didn't want to have to mail out any SD cards. So little carrier was really cool. This is my multi-adapter USB charger, the little Insignia one, got it from Best Buy in San Diego somewhere. That was a really cool thing to have. I actually had a little blue one for a UK adapter, but brought that with me and was like, I might as well just get one for the US so I don't have to carry the adapter. So that was handy to have. Next up is my Anker PowerCore 20,000 milliamp hour battery. This is the Anker PowerCore Essential one. I think the only difference is it's also got a USB-C type input as well as a USB micro USB input. So it's a really good power bank. I used to have a 13,000 milliamp hour one, but that could charge all of my gear for about 5 to 7 days, no problem. Next up is my Garmin InReach Mini. Didn't use that once, thankfully, and actually I didn't do any tracking or anything. I'd just kind of switch it on once a day and keep it on when I was going through like a sketchy part. So when I was going over the San Jacinto, I'd kind of have it switched on, but anything apart from that, I didn't really have it switched on just to save the battery. Next up in my electronics bag is my Sony RX100. Been using this for absolutely donkeys. Didn't want to take a big camera or a drone, so just had this. Had the little wind mufflers on the top, which was absolutely fine for blurting out all of the wind. So yeah, that coupled with my iPhone 11 Pro Max was just a brilliant pair of cameras to have for a through hike. Didn't weigh much, and I had 3 lenses on the phone. 1 lens with a zoom on it on the camera. I had an ND filter on the camera. It's just a really good little setup. Okay, next up in the main compartment is my Cthulhu micro spikes. These things, I carried them from day one, got straight off of the terminus at the Mexican border. I've spoken to a few friends and they said you're gonna freaking need those, especially starting at like mid-March, and they weren't wrong. Within day 2 it was already snowing and it was starting to settle and I was getting ice on the floor. So if you're starting the PCT mid to late March, definitely get yourself a set of these. They just strap straight over your trail runners or your boots, whichever you're wearing. They're quite lightweight. They're much lighter than crampons, and without these I would have been slipping and sliding all over the place in the San Jacinto. So yeah, definitely get your hands on some micro spikes if you're starting anywhere between mid-March to mid-April. Like, I think there's even still snow up there in the San Jacinto, so definitely get yourself a pair of micro spikes. So inside the main compartment I also have a DCF pack liner, which I'd keep all of my things in, but I didn't want to get wet. So let's just have a look at what's in there now. So the first thing that's in there, just rolled up really roughly, is my sleeping pad. This is Thermarest Neo Air X-Lite. I've had it for absolutely years, never got a hole in it. The valve is starting to leak a teeny tiny bit, but apart from that, this thing has held up really, really well. Next up is my clothes bag, and inside the clothes bag, basically it's all kept in a sil nylon stuff sack that my sleeping quilt came in. So I'm just going to crack that open now. Okay, so inside the sil nylon stuff sack is a pair of massive ski gloves. I found these at 2020 Vision, which is like a little trail angel spot halfway through the desert. Found these on a table, and the story with these is I wouldn't have picked these up. I would have left them there, but beforehand I saw a glove on the trail about 50 miles before, and didn't pick it up because I thought, oh, someone will come back and get it. Didn't think, oh, if I picked it up I could actually give it to the person up the trail. Anyway, our friend, I think his name was Ben, he came back and was just like, oh, have you seen a glove? And I was like, mate, I didn't even think about picking it up. I thought I'd just leave it there. Anyway, I would have left these there had that not happened. But I thought, you know what, if someone's left them, then they're probably up trail, so I'll pick these up. And I never saw anyone come back to get them, so I just kept them. And I'll tell you what, these saved my fingertips in the San Jacinto. I would have had such cold fingers. Yeah, I was really lucky to find these. These are called Head Outlast, and they've got a little heat pack pocket and everything. They're a little bit busted up, but they kept my hands really warm. Next up is a pair of shorts. These are just some Patagonia Striders. These are the best shorts I've ever worn for hiking. They're really comfortable. They've got a lining on the inside, so I don't wear any underwear while I'm through hiking. They've got little elasticated pockets on each side. They're drawstring and elastic. And one of the best things about it, it's got this little zippy pocket on the back, and that's where I keep my little tiny penknife. And on that, it's got a toothpick. It's got some scissors, it's got a nail file, it's got a little mini knife. So really good. That's all you need in terms of a knife. Very rarely had to use it, but mainly I just use it for the scissors and the nail file, and that's all I had. So it's always there in that little pocket, and if I needed it, I could just reach back, boom, there it was. Next up is my Rohan Expedition woven polyester shirt. So it's really comfortable. This is the best hiking shirt I've ever worn, hands down. It's gonna last. It's very well put together, it's very comfortable, it fits me very, very well. I'm 37-inch chest and an 18-inch torso, and that fit me spot on. It's got pockets, it's breathable. Yeah, just a really good shirt. It's long sleeve, and you can roll up the sleeves and tie them up halfway up the sleeve as well. So yep, Rohan Expedition shirt. Next up was an REI co-op hat. So this is a really cool cap. You can wear it like that just as normal. Or if you were getting really hot and you were getting a bit sunburnt on your neck, you could then turn it into a desert cap as well, just like that. And it's got this little thing that pulls down, keeps your neck nice and covered away from the sun. So another multi-use cap, 2 different modes. I really like these hats. They're better than just a normal sun hat, because if you just want a cap, you've got a cap. If you want a sun hat as well, you've got a sun hat as well. Next up is my little neck buff. Had this one for ages. Good for keeping sweat off your head, good for keeping the sun off, for keeping you warm, good for keeping the driving wind and rain out of your face. I think a buff is a must-have for any thru-hiker. Next up is my base layer top. I think this is merino wool, this one. Had this for quite a few 100 miles on other trails, including the Rota Vicentina up in Scotland, and yeah, it's just a really good one. Came with some bottoms as well, but they broke very, very quickly because merino wool can be quite delicate. But yeah, merino wool base layer top. This is made by Icebreaker, by the way, and the bottoms I actually use from my old set just because the merino wool set broke, and the bottoms are from a Dare to Be, and these are a synthetic material as well, so they don't break as easily, keep your legs warm. I found the trousers, the bottoms are better if they're in a synthetic as opposed to merino wool. See, look at these little bastards, they're everywhere. Okay, next up in the clothes bag is some Solomon mitten slash gloves. So these are kind of like dual purpose, so they are normal gloves just like this, and then they've got mittens on the top, so they'll kind of cut the wind. I found as soon as these get wet, if it's cold, these are completely useless. So it's really good that I found that massive pair of ski gloves. You definitely want something that's a little bit more robust than this if you're going really early in the season. Next up in my clothes bag is just my little Berghaus kind of beanie hat. It's really lightweight, really thin, but it's just enough to cover your ears and keep your head warm. If you've got your insulated jacket and everything else, you're gonna be absolutely fine with just a little hat like that. Next up is my Ultra Gaiters. These just went over my ankles on my trail runners and would just keep all of the dust and grit out on the desert floor, so definitely good to have a set of gaiters for the PCT. And I'm just going to get all of the rest of it out now. So okay, all that's left in there now is a few pairs of socks. So the socks I had was 2 pairs of Darn Tough kind of ankle length socks. I don't like wearing the full massive length socks that go up to your knee, but some very simple Darn Tough socks are really good, very comfortable. I also had 1 pair of Injinji socks, which are the toe kind of socks, basically like little mini gloves for your toes. Really good, just in case you start getting blisters. I think I only wore these twice. Didn't actually start getting any blisters on the trail anyway, but it was good to have another pair of socks. And the last pair of socks is these that I just picked up in Idlewild. As I was passing through, I went to the gear store there and they showed us the conditions of the San Jacinto, and I was like, right, I'm just going to get a pair of these. I thought maybe they'd be a little bit gimmicky, but honestly, when you're wearing trail runners that are really porous and can let all the water in, if you've got a pair of these waterproof sealskin socks on, they were amazing. They kept my feet so dry, and they're breathable because they're 3-layered. Honestly, like, don't worry about if it's snowy and wet up there if you're wearing trail runners if you've got a pair of these on. Yeah, they added quite a bit of weight and space to my clothes bag, but at the end of the day, my feet were dry and warm while I was walking through the San Jacinto. So sealskins waterproof socks. Okay, there's just one more thing left inside this bag, and that is my Katabatic gear Sawatch, which is kept inside my DCF stuff sack. So the Katabatic gear Sawatch is a 15° Fahrenheit. I usually have a Katabatic gear Palisade, which is 30° Fahrenheit, which is good down to freezing. I would have been seriously cold out there in the San Jacinto if I was wearing that. Using this thing probably saved my bacon that night up in the hills when it got really cold. I got caught in a storm, but I was in my tent in this. I had my insulated jacket on and I was totally fine up there. A little bit chilly, but I wasn't freezing and shivering my butt off. I did end up having a comfortable night's sleep as soon as the wind died down. So yeah, Katabatic gear Sawatch. Okay everyone, that's basically it. That's all of my gear that I took with me, minus a couple of bits on the Pacific Crest Trail this year. The whole 210 miles of it that I managed to do. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions at all, let me know in the comments section below. Thumbs if you liked this video, subs if you loved it, and I'll see you in the next one.